So we got cruise set at 70. I'm gonna let it take us onto the ramp. Yep, I did not touch the wheel though, I almost did. It doesn't like this right now, it's kind of bouncing back and forth until it adjusts. It's pretty quick. Alright, hey guys. So I've had my car for about a week now. It's actually gonna be a week tomorrow. I've had a lot of time to drive it, test out the driving aids, and one of the things I found really cool about the Q50, I'm not sure whether all the Q50 packages are like this. I think the one that's being tested really is a proactive here, and that includes this direct adaptive steering. And one thing I noticed that the lane keeping is actually really good. So I guess what I'm gonna try to do today, once I get out of this parking lot and probably onto the highway, is can my Infiniti drive me home? I'm just not gonna touch the steering wheel unless I absolutely have to this time, and let's see what happens. So I've got my driving aids on right now. They're not really much help when you're not driving on the freeway. There's not really clearly marked lanes on a lot of these roads in Houston and Katy. Oh, look at that, a Scion cutting through. Nice work, dude. I don't know if you guys caught that, or if the video caught that, but he spun out, taking a right turn onto a road. I guess while we're doing this, so the car has a bunch of automatic driving assist. I guess it's got forward collision warning and distance control assist. It's got lane keeping, blind spot monitoring. These are the blind spot right here. They're actually on the pillar instead of on the mirror, which I think is kind of cool. The lights aren't that bright, unfortunately. So if it's real sunny outside, it's kind of hard to see. But it does beep at you, and when you have your turn signal on and it knows that your intention is to change lanes, they glow a lot brighter. So I think that's a good feature. And then it's also got adaptive cruise control and all that. There's sonars on the back and front, so it has like cross traffic alert and all that. I've noticed a lot of times when I'm coming down a road, if it sees a car that's about to turn in, it'll chime at me and let me it'll kind of back up on the accelerator and tell me not to push forward anymore. You can turn that off with traction control. I think that disables almost every assist when you turn off traction control in this car, but I keep it on for the most part. It's not really that intrusive. I mean, it's obviously not like a Tesla, but also this car does not chime a warning at me to put my hands back on the wheel. It really doesn't care whether I'm touching the wheel or not. It'll just chime at me when it's departing the lane, and it'll auto-correct. You'll see when we're driving. So there you just saw the blind spot warning go on, because I got my left turn indicator on. There's a truck in my rear blind spot. So you know what, just for the sake of showing you the full autonomy, I'm going to actually turn it on from here. I've got cruise set at 50 miles an hour. Let's bump that up to 60. Lane keep is on. We are on the frontage road. And right there, the car just adjusted. At higher speeds is a lot better, so we're going to merge onto the freeway now. There's this old Nissan Sentra trying to push me. I find that really funny. And then a Honda Pilot just overtakes. Nice. So we got cruise set at 70. I'm gonna let it take us onto the ramp. Yep, I did not touch the wheel there, I almost did. It doesn't like this right now, it's kind of bouncing back and forth until it adjusts. It's pretty quick to really get to it though. A lot of other cars I've driven don't really adjust that quickly. They're not too happy about you letting off the wheel. You do have to put your hand on the wheel to change lanes though. The car will not change lanes for you. But let me move my feet off just so you guys can see. I'm not touching any of the brake pedals or anything. So I'm touching the wheel just because we're in enough moving traffic and I don't trust people in Houston. But I'm going to try and show you guys that once we're on the tollway, I will not touch the wheel. But right now, let me just up this to, let's go 75. We got to pass some of these people to get in. Alright, so changing lanes. Car is going to sense the car in front of me, apply the brakes. I'm going to change lanes again. It still has view of the other car in front of me. We're all good. I'm going to get into the left lane just because we're going to merge onto the tollway pretty soon. So I'm going to leave it here. in the left lane, and I mean, I'm in moving traffic, so this is kind of risky for me. But let's see how it goes. So the one thing that kind of scares me is we've got these lane tollway dividers right here, and they're, you know, they're pushed down. I don't know what you call them, pylons? Not really pylons. They're made of plastic. They bend real easily. You'll see trucks drive over them all the time when there's too much traffic and people want to cut into the tollway before they're allowed. But the lane marker is actually almost right up next to it. So the car gets real close to that. It, you know, gets me kind of antsy. Sorry, I just reduced the distance there between myself and the car ahead. I'm falling too far away for people not to cut me off right now, so I'm going to kind of close that distance. But yeah, like right now it's holding pretty fine, and I mean, yeah, you can always argue, oh, the freeway's pretty straight. But I mean, really, you're only ever going to use cruise control and that kind of stuff on the freeway. I think in city driving, no one really is going to have an autonomous car, though arguably you would want it in traffic situations. But, you know, again, this isn't a Tesla, it's just an Infiniti. Sticker price is about half that of a Tesla. But it's got some cool tech. I mean, I have not touched the steering wheel to steer it so far since we got on the highway. I will, the next time I'm going to touch it is going to be to get on the tollway, and then from there I'm going to let go again. I might touch it a couple times to pass cars. I don't know, we'll see if there's anyone going way too slow in the right lane. But yeah, as you'll notice, the car, so a lot of other blind spot systems that I've used, I'm sorry, not blind spot, lane keeping. So I've driven countless Fords with the lane keeping assist, Volvos, Subarus, I've driven the newer BMWs as well. They all kind of bounce back and forth. They're not really great. It looks like you're kind of a drunk driver, kind of just bouncing back and forth between the lines. This car does that only if there's a drastic change and it doesn't anticipate it, but for the most part, you don't really drift in your lane in this car, and I find that really cool. I think Infiniti has done a good job. Okay, so I'm going to touch again because we're going to merge onto the tollway. It actually merged a lot of that for me. I didn't really have to touch it until the very end just to get it, you know, nudge it back in. But so yeah, now you'll see the car's kind of bouncing back and forth just because it's readjusting to this new lane, and the markers kind of changed. But yeah, I'm gonna let it do its thing. Hopefully people don't get too aggravated at me doing this. I'm watching my car bounce back and forth. Right now, currently, there is a Challenger. I want to say that's an SRT, could just be an RT behind me, and then there's a Mustang GT in front of me, and then I'm in my, you know, little red Sport 400 in the middle. This part's kind of boring. I don't really have much to comment on. I'm just gonna note my observations as I'm driving. I'm at right now 73 miles an hour. The Mustang in front of me is going just a little slow. It's maintaining about a 3-second car length. I think that's the lowest setting you can have on these adaptive cruise systems. I have not, so one thing I have not done, I'll comment, the adaptive cruise on here is great. I have not touched the gas pedal since I set, well, the gas or the brake pedal, honestly, since I set adaptive cruise back when we were first entering the freeway. So this is going well right now. I'm getting a little antsy. There's Dodge, Ram, Laramie. That's kind of, well, he's actually gone. He's not going to stick around next to us. There's a car in the right shoulder right now. So I kind of want to touch this. I don't want to scare this person. You guys won't be able to see this, but there's a car right there. Okay, we did not pass by that close, so that was okay. He was also standing on the other side. I wasn't close to hurting him, don't worry. I mean, the person was standing on the right side of his car, and there's a divider between the highway and all that. Anyway, so now we're approaching, so this is the part where it gets kind of dicey. The lane, the paint on the lanes merges real close to those bars I was telling you guys about earlier. I'm real scared, but holy shit, the car actually made it through that. It did not. Oh wow, I'm really surprised. You know what? Next one that comes up, I'm gonna take a video on my phone and try and parse that in so you guys can see what I'm talking about where the paint goes. It gets real close to the car. But yeah, so this is really funny. So you'll see the car just started drifting there, and I had to grab hold of the car. So what it does is, it's really lame. Well, it's not lame, it's actually, it's kind of, the car's a little too smart for itself. So it sees that there's an exit off of the tollway, and it sees the lane opening up. So it actually starts pulling you out of the tollway because, like, oh, you must want to exit, you're in the right lane. That's interesting. I don't know what algorithm it uses to determine whether it wants you to exit, because it doesn't do it every time. But yeah, this is one time you gotta watch out for. All right, you want to grab the wheel again, readjust it. Otherwise, it would have taken us onto the freeway again, which would have been fine. I just, you know, first time not actually holding the wheel. I don't want to be doing this again. It just did that as there was an entrance onto the tollway, so I gotta hold it again. So, you know, 2 adjustments so far, not bad. And so we're approaching another one. I'm going to take a video on my phone just so I can show you guys. So right now you'll see that the markers get real close. The paint is right down there for the lane. I don't know if you can see in my side view mirror. You can see that it's coming real close to the car. I have not touched it. This is like hurting every nerve in my body to not touch, but it worked. So yeah, it's a pretty good system. Still have not touched the gas pedal or the brake pedal. You know, there's people passing by. I'm, you know, in this lane. It's not shooting me back and forth. I'm at, right now, the whole time I've been just under 70. I think the Mustang has a truck in front of it that I can see that's doing just about 68 miles an hour. And so that's been our speed for the past little while. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It's a great system. It has not done anything too scary, and it manages. I mean, the only downside of it is when there's an exit, or when there's an off-ramp or an on-ramp, the car tends to want to go onto those. I think it just gets confused between which marker to follow, because you then get a solid line. Because right now on the right side, I figured it out. On the right side, it's following a solid line. When that solid line turns into a dotted line, it wants to start following the solid line wherever it sees it, and so it starts pulling right. And that's why for both off-ramps and on-ramps it does that, because obviously that lane opens up for a bit. So it's kind of weird. It's like you can't just let go. But I mean, if you were I don't condone texting. I personally hate people that text and drive. I try not to do it as much as possible. I mean, obviously I just picked up my phone to take a video for you guys. But you know, you could text and drive and you'd be safe. Or if you're messing around here, you need to grab something from the glove box. You know, you want to check in the back seat how your kids are doing. All that's great. I know there's a video out there of some dude who actually hops in the passenger seat. I don't want to get a ticket. There's a lot of cops on the I-10, and that's why I'm not going to do that. Otherwise, to be quite honest, I'm comfortable doing that, as long as I could reach over and slam on the brakes with my hand if I needed to. The one thing that Infiniti does state in the manual is that distance control assist, adaptive cruise, all those features, they are not meant to substitute for braking. So if there's ever heavy braking, the car apparently can only apply 50% of the brakes, which I don't actually find true, because actually the first day I took delivery of my car, I was driving. I'm gonna have to grab the wheel again. The lane's gonna split here. So I was driving, and a guy in front of me, I guess, just slammed on the brakes. And you know, I had my foot on the brakes. I was already slowing down, but I guess the car didn't think I was slowing down fast enough. So it just fully slammed and got me to a stop. And I mean, I think the car knew more than I did, because I came real close. I think I could have stopped. You know, I'd like to think that. So far, you know, there's no wood in this car, but knock on wood, metaphorically, I've never rear-ended anyone yet. But yeah, so it does, but they state that you shouldn't trust it. So, you know, I wouldn't want to be completely disengaged from the road, but in terms of a comfortable driving experience, like, I have not done anything, and I'm nearly home. There's about 3 tolls that it takes. So these are overhead tolls. You don't see them. You might not see them. You might. So right there, the on-ramp, there's a guy that cut me off. The car braked fine. Of course, it's a Beamer who did not use his turn signals. What a surprise. So right now, it's actually lost track of the lane, so I had to kind of readjust it there, because the lane had come in from the on-ramp, and then the Beamer cut it off, and then the car kind of drifted to the side and then started bouncing. And it wasn't chiming the alerts, which makes me think that it wasn't in the lane, but now it's got it again. It's maneuvering for me. And this isn't a perfectly straight road. I'm not sure how well that shows up on video, but the road is, you know, there's slight bends and turns just as any interstate. And it's not had any problems keeping in the lane without making me look like a drunk driver. So I've driven Ford pickups of the F-150s, the Platinum has it, I think the King Ranch might as well. The limited, I don't know if there's a limited trim, but anyway, the top end trims on the F-150 have it, and that one, it's awful. I mean, you're terrified. The truck's just go inside. It doesn't leave the lane, but it's just bouncing back and forth, and eventually it just disables and says put your hand on the wheel. Same with the Ford Fusion Sport, it does that. The Subarus, I've driven Subaru Legacy, Subaru Outback with a lane keeping assist, does the same thing, bounces back and forth. And also the adaptive cruise isn't as smooth as this one is. I think that's the main thing, is Infiniti systems are just incredibly smooth. There's no jerkiness to the lane assist or to the adaptive cruise or anything like that. So yeah, another toll coming up. We're getting real close to the dividers on the side again. My heart's about to skip a beat, and we did not hit anything. Okay. Ooh, there's some debris on the road that luckily I avoided. I was about to grab the wheel, but the car didn't go towards it. So we're gonna exit. There's a Merc coming in real close to me, so I'm gonna let him pass. And so I just overrode cruise control there for a second just to merge. So I'll let go of it again. The car, I did not touch it. It was okay. It's keeping in lane. I'm actually gonna take this exit, and I'll show you guys. This one actually curves quite a bit. So let's see how, this is my exit. Let's see how well it does, and then I'll probably turn off the camera because I don't want y'all to know where I live. So I'm not touching it. We're going about 75, taking this exit. I'm gonna slow down a little. It's not really a curve I want the car to take at 75. I brought it down to 60. So the car in front of me is quite a ways away. We've got a yellow line on the left, concrete barrier, white line on the right, those plastic dividers again. Car's keeping in lane pretty good. You know, actually one thing I didn't do is I didn't turn on the GPS, so this car actually has, it follows the turns on the nav. So if I actually had a route implemented, it would anticipate where I'm going to turn, and it does something similar to torque vectoring. I think it applies the brakes on the inner wheels, on the inner of the turn to get it, to get the car turned in smoothly, and to anticipate how, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's got, I don't even know that, I think it's either active trace control or there's another name. There's two systems that sound very similar in this car that I'm not sure. There's quite a sharp turn coming up ahead. I don't know how well the car is going to take it. I might have to grab the wheel. I'm going to watch it right now. Yeah, okay, so if, I want to say if it's too big of a curve, the car will not do it. It'll just, you know, it'll assume that you're going to grab it. So I've resumed full control of the car. I would have actually not applied the brakes, but there's no cars in front of me, so I would have blown through the barrier up ahead. This doesn't sense red lights or intersections or anything like that. The Tesla system obviously has a lot more data to work off of. But honestly, given what we just did, I wouldn't be surprised if Infiniti came back in, you know, a couple years time and they came out with fully autonomous vehicles as a concept. They might already be working on the concept. Yeah, so that's kind of it. I just wanted to demonstrate this. Hopefully this isn't going to be too boring of a video. I tried to not let it go silent for too long, keep up some commentary, but yeah, those were my thoughts on this. If you want to see more systems about the Infiniti, there's a lot more. I can go through the menus. I think I'll link the review that I did before on my buddy's channel. I went through all the different systems available in the settings in the car. But yeah, if you want to see anything more in depth, let me know. Yeah, all right.